how do the economics work? If you're a worker in Houston, in Cleveland, in Dallas, in Atlanta, in all the cities that have embraced light rail in recent years, how do the numbers add up for your city? Javier?
There's a movement, pretty powerful movement in the U.S. right now, since the federal government for the past 10 years has been very inefficient in terms of moving toward a clean economy. It's called the Cool Cities. There are many around the country right now, and they're doing their own things, like the light rail that we were watching just now. There's a vacuum of action. That's what it is right now. And smaller governments, city governments, state governments are taking over what the federal government has failed to do for 10 years. And it's working. We've seen these people talking about the wonders of something that is very low cost, but it produces wonderful results.
You know, it's important to note that driving in a car, one person driving to work by themselves, the amount for gasoline that they pay and for the car doesn't cover the whole cost either. The National Academy of Sciences says that burning oil, which we primarily do for transportation, costs society $60 billion a year in premature deaths and extra health care costs. That's subsidized by others. In addition, the gasoline taxes that drivers pay doesn't cover the whole cost of highway and transit programs. So we're subsidizing all kinds of transportation, not just light rail. And so really the question is it a worthwhile investment? Overall, is society better off overall if we invest in light rail and give people alternatives to driving in cars that have hidden costs that are paid for not by the driver, but by other people?
How do you win that argument, though? I mean, if we played this segment of the show for every commuter in America, suddenly the lights wouldn't go on and they'd all say, oh, you're right, let's get on light rail and fill up the systems that I've ridden on in Los Angeles, in Portland, in Minneapolis, St. Paul. I mean, the light rail has really boomed in recent years, but when I ride it, most often it's empty or semi-empty, and I'm even riding during peak hours of the day. People like it, and when they can replace a specific trip with it, it's convenient because you don't have to park on the other end. Right. But adoption, saying, yeah, I'm going to leave the car at home. It seems like a tough argument to win permanently. You know, when gas comes back down again, people will get back into their cars. How do you win that argument?
In the conversation about increasing gas prices, a recent poll just showed that 71% of Americans are saying that they're experiencing increased financial hardship because of gas prices. So I think we may have to not only provide the incentives, but people have to see. They have to see the impact on their family budgets. Transportation and addressing sustainability in the transportation sector is critical, not just to the fight to reduce pollution and improve air quality in our communities, but to the fight against climate change. The transportation sector is one of the largest sources of greenhouse gas emissions in our nation, followed only by electricity generation. This is something that we need to do, but in order for people to want to jump on the bandwagon and say this is right for me to do, it needs to be accessible, it needs to be affordable, it needs to be able to get them from point A to point B in a way that, you know, it's not going to hurt their family budgets.
Today, fewer Americans believe that human-induced climate change is really happening. So that argument is, even at this late date, still in dispute.
There's a lot of skepticism, however, not among Latinos. There's been several polls conducted, one by an organization that we co-founded, the National Latino Coalition on Climate Change, and another one by NRDC that shows that the majority of Latinos believe that global warming is a real challenge. It's not, they don't doubt that it's happening. They want Congress to take action immediately, and they believe that environmental regulations are something that's needed by our communities. They're a lot more concerned about environmental pollution than Caucasians and other groups are. It's not a matter of whether it's happening for them because they see it and they feel it, and they want to protect our environment.
So maybe that more realistic view is a result of living different lives. I mean, different Americans live different lives. They're out in the elements more, work outdoors more, live in places that are exposed to industrial pollution more. I mean, there is a different way of life among different Americans.
Of course there is. And as you were mentioning at the beginning of the show, the impact of toxins and pollutants on us, on our communities, is much higher than the rest of the population. So we actually see, live it, and feel it, and get sick because of it. Not only that, also Latinos in general have these very strong links with their countries of origin, with their families and relatives and friends. And in those countries, global warming is a reality. It's not a theory or something to be debated. No. It's actually taking place. And especially in Latin America, where everybody is aware that countries, developing countries are the ones who are to suffer the toughest part of the global warming consequences. So yes, we are very much aware of what's going on. So we Latinos are wide open to new suggestions and to new ways of doing things.